The Galactic Academy was one of the largest training centers in known space. It was built to prepare future leaders, warriors, and explorers from many alien races. Humans were new here, very new. Most species at the Academy had known each other for centuries. They understood the rules. They understood power. Humans did not. That is what everyone believed. A human girl walked alone through the long metal hallway. Her boots made soft sounds on the polished floor. She kept her back straight and her eyes forward, just like she was taught. Her name was Elena Ward. She was smaller than most students. Weaker, they said. Slower, they whispered. As she passed groups of alien students, the talking stopped. Eyes followed her. Some curious, some mocking, some cold. Elena felt it all, but she did not stop walking. The Academy training hall was massive. High ceilings, steel walls, bright white lights above. Today was combat evaluation day. Elena stood in line with the others. She checked her gloves and armor. Standard issue. Nothing special. Across the room, a large reptilian alien watched her closely. His name was Craxil. He was tall, wide, and covered in thick scales. A top-ranked student. Feared by many, Craxil smiled when he saw Elena. To him, she was not a student. She was a target. The instructor entered the hall. A tall, gray-skinned alien with sharp eyes. Training match rules apply, the instructor said. No lethal force. Control your strength. The matches began. One by one, students fought. Some fast, some brutal, some careful. Then Elena's name was called. She stepped forward. So did Craxil. A quiet sound moved through the hall. Everyone noticed. The instructor paused for half a second, then nodded. Begin. At first, the fight looked normal. Craxil circled her slowly. Elena stayed light on her feet. She blocked the first strike, then the second. Some students looked surprised. But Craxil's eyes burned with anger. He increased his strength. His strikes came faster, harder. Elena stumbled but stayed standing. She tried to retreat. Craxil did not allow it. He grabbed her arm and threw her across the floor. She hit the ground hard. The sound echoed. The hall went silent. Elena pushed herself up. Her breathing was heavy. Pain spread through her side. The instructor watched closely. Craxil, maintain control, the instructor warned. Craxil did not respond. He charged. Elena raised her guard, but it was not enough. Craxil slammed her into the wall. Her head struck metal. Some students turned away. Others leaned forward. Craxil placed a heavy hand around her throat. Elena gasped. Her feet lifted off the ground. This was no longer training. The instructor stepped forward. Craxil. Too slow. Craxil tightened his grip. Elena's vision blurred. Her hands clawed at his arm. She kicked. She struggled. But he was stronger. The room felt frozen. No one moved. The instructor hesitated. This was not supposed to happen. Elena Ward, the instructor shouted. She could barely hear. Her world was narrowing. Then, a sharp crack. Craxil threw her to the floor. She did not get up. The instructor rushed forward now. Too late. Craxil. Match over. Medical drones moved in quickly. Elena lay still, her chest rising slowly. Her face pale. Marks already forming on her neck. The hall was silent again, but this time it felt wrong. Craxil stepped back, breathing hard. He looked around. Some students looked afraid. Others looked satisfied. The instructor stared at Elena. He knew he waited too long. As Elena was lifted onto a stretcher, her eyes opened slightly. She looked at the ceiling lights. She did not cry. She did not scream. She remembered, and far away, beyond the academy walls, a signal was already traveling. A message marked human student injured. It was heading home. The medical wing of the Galactic Academy was quiet. Too quiet. Soft lights glowed above clean metal beds. Machines hummed in low tones. Healing drones moved slowly through the air. Elena Ward lay on one of the beds. Her body was still. Her breathing was slow but steady. Marks were visible on her neck. Dark lines against pale skin. A human medic stood beside her, checking the monitors. An alien medical officer watched from a distance. "She will live," the medic said calmly, but she was very close. The alien officer nodded, but said nothing. Outside the medical wing, the academy was restless. Students gathered in small groups. Whispers moved through the halls. It was supposed to be training. He went too far. The instructor waited. Some students felt uncomfortable. Others felt angry, but most felt fear, because something had gone wrong, and everyone knew it. Craxel was confined to his quarters. Not arrested, not punished, just confined. He sat alone, his large hands resting on his knees. His breathing was calm now. In his mind, the fight replayed again and again. He told himself she was weak, that she should not have been there. But a small part of him felt something else. Uncertainty. The instructor stood before the Academy Council. Tall figures sat in a wide circle. Different species. Different expressions. "What happened?" one council member asked. The instructor spoke carefully. "The match escalated faster than expected," he said. "I issued a warning." "You hesitated." Another voice said. The instructor lowered his eyes. "Yes." The council room fell silent. They had rules. Clear rules. But humans were new, unfamiliar, and mistakes were made when rules met pride. Was a human student at fault? A council member asked. "No," the instructor admitted. Then why was no action taken sooner? The instructor had no answer. Back in medical wing, Elena slowly opened her eyes. The light felt too bright. She turned her head slightly and winced. A human officer stood nearby. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "You're safe," the officer said softly. "You're at the Academy Medical Wing." Elena swallowed. Her throat hurt. "I remember," she whispered. The officer nodded. "You don't have to speak yet." But Elena did. "He meant to hurt me," she said. Her voice was weak but clear. The officer listened. Every word mattered. Later that day, a report was sent. Not emotional, not angry, just facts. Time, location, injuries, instructor response delay. The report traveled far beyond the academy, across systems, across stars, toward Earth. The academy leadership dismissed the danger. Humans exaggerate. One council member said, "They are emotional." Another nodded. "They will complain, then move on." They were wrong. That night, the academy network flickered. Security systems updated quietly. Observers arrived without announcement. Craxel noticed first. More patrols. More cameras. He felt watched. The instructor felt it too. His authority felt thinner. Like cracked glass. Students whispered again. But now the whispers were different. They recorded everything. The humans are reviewing it. They are calm. Too calm. Elena remained in recovery. She stared at the ceiling often, thinking. She remembered the instructor's pause, the moment where help could have come, but did not. She did not feel hate. She felt resolve. A message arrived for her. Short, official. "You are not alone." She closed her eyes. At the same time, on Earth, a group of human officials sat in silence. The report played on a large screen. No shouting, no anger, just careful attention. One official spoke. "They allowed it." Another nodded. They hesitated. A third leaned forward. "Then they do not understand us yet." The room stayed silent. A response was prepared. Not a threat, not a demand. A request for full transparency. Footage, logs, instructor decisions. Back at the academy, the council received a message. The tone was polite. Too polite. "They are asking for everything," one council member said. "Give it to them," another replied. "What harm can it do?" The instructor felt a cold weight in his chest. Because he knew, somewhere in the data, the truth waited. And truth did not care about rank. In the medical wing, Elena sat up for the first time. Her body was weak, but her mind was clear. She looked out the window at the academy towers. She was still here. And now, The Academy would have to face what allowed. The response from Earth arrived without noise. No threats, no anger, no raised voices. Just a single message sent through official channels. At the Galactic Academy, the Council gathered again. The message floated in the air between them, glowing softly. Request for full review. Request for footage. Request for accountability. One council member laughed lightly. "They are polite," he said. "Too polite." Another agreed. Humans do not understand galactic politics. But the instructor did not laugh. He stood at the edge of the room, silent, because he knew what the footage showed. And humans had asked for everything. The Academy complied. Security logs were unlocked. Training recordings were copied. Instructor command delays were marked. All of it was sent across space to Earth. Kraxel felt the change almost at once. His training schedule was paused. His access was limited. He was not told why, but he could feel the eyes on him. He told himself it did not matter, that humans had no power here. Yet his claws tapped the floor at night. On Earth, the footage played in a dark room. Human officials watched in silence. No one spoke. The image froze on one frame. The instructor standing still. The human girl struggling. Seconds passing. One official spoke softly. "That pause," she said. "That is the moment." Another nodded. They had time. A third closed the file. They chose not to act. There was no anger in the room, only focus. A second message was sent. Still calm, still polite, but firmer. Request for disciplinary review. Request for rule enforcement. Request for safety guarantee. The Academy Council felt it now. This was not a complaint. This was a test. The instructor was called in again. "Explain the delay," the council demanded. The instructor spoke slowly. "I followed protocol," he said. "But protocol allows immediate intervention," one member replied. The instructor said nothing, because there was nothing left to say. Elena returned to class under escort. Her body still ached. Her throat still hurt. But she walked with her head high. Students moved aside as she passed. Some avoided her eyes. Some bowed their heads slightly. She did not look at them. She looked forward. Human observers arrived that day. They wore simple uniforms. No weapons. No armor. Just calm faces and sharp eyes. They watched everything. They asked questions. They took notes. The Academy felt smaller. Kraxel saw them from across the hall. Human eyes met his. They did not glare. They did not threaten. They remembered. That frightened him more than anger ever could. The instructor felt pressure from all sides. His authority weakened. Students no longer trusted his judgment. Every command felt questioned. At night, he reviewed the footage again. He saw himself hesitate. He saw the moment he could have stopped it. Sleep did not come easily. The Academy Council argued late into the night. "If we punish our own," one said, "we admit failure. If we do nothing," another replied, "humans will not forget." That was the problem. Humans did not forget. A third message arrived. Short, clear. This is not about revenge. This is about responsibility. Silence filled the council chamber. They finally understood. Humans were not demanding power. They were demanding fairness. And fairness, once broken, demanded correction. The council announced a formal inquiry. Public, recorded. Students watched. Instructors watched. The galaxy watched. The footage was played again. This time, no one spoke. The delay was clear. The rules were clear. The failure was clear. Kraxel's name was called. He stood before the council. For the first time, he looked uncertain. "What was your intent?" a council member asked. Kraxel hesitated. "I was testing her limits," he said. The room remained silent. "Training has limits," the member replied. The instructor's name was called next. His voice shook. "I believed control would return," he said. "But it did not," the council answered. Elena was asked to speak. She stood, small, human, unarmed. "I followed the rules," she said. "I trusted the instructor." She paused. He waited. That was all. The human observers did not clap. They did not smile. They recorded. That was enough. The Academy had made its choice long ago. Now, consequences were arriving. Quietly, the inquiry chamber was full. Students stood along the walls. Instructors sat in silent rows. Observers from different species watched closely. At the center of the room, a large display floated in the air. The truth was about to be shown. The Academy Council sat at the front, their faces serious. This was no longer an internal matter. The galaxy was watching. The human observers stood quietly to the side. They did not speak. They did not interrupt. They waited. The first video began. It showed the training hall from above. Clear, unedited. Elena entered the arena. Small, focused. Then Craxel, large, confident. The video played slowly. Every strike, every movement. The council watched in silence. The instructor's voice was heard giving the starting command. At first, everything looked normal. Then the pace changed. Craxel's attacks grew heavier. Elena stepped back. The warning appeared on the screen. Craxel maintained control. The video paused. A council member pointed. "Here," she said. "This is the moment." The video continued. Seconds passed. Elena was slammed into the wall. Her body went still for half a second. The instructor did not move. The video slowed again. The hand around her throat. Her feet lifting from the ground. The instructor stepped forward, then stopped. The room felt heavy. The video resumed. Elena was thrown to the floor. The match ended. Silence filled the chamber. No one spoke. The truth was no longer hidden. The council turned to the instructor. "Why did you wait?" one member asked. The instructor swallowed. "I believe I could regain control," he said. "But you did not," another replied. The council turned to Craxel. "Why did you ignore the rules?" Craxel looked down. "I believe she could endure," he said. The room stayed silent. Elena stood near the back. She watched calmly. She felt no fear now. The truth protected her. The council reviewed more data, medical reports, reaction times, training guidelines. Everything showed the same thing. This was preventable. The human observers shared their analysis. Short, clear, no emotion. This would not be allowed in human training. One said, "Immediate intervention is required." The council nodded slowly. They could not argue with facts. The instructor was suspended from duty, effective immediately. A ripple moved through the room. Some instructors looked shocked. Others looked relieved. Craxel was removed from the academy roster. His rank was stripped. His future was uncertain. He did not resist. For the first time, he understood power did not protect him. Rules did, or their absence destroyed him. The academy released a public statement. It admitted failure. It admitted delay. It admitted responsibility. This was rare, very rare. Across the academy, reactions spread. Some students felt shame. Others felt respect. Because truth had won. Elena returned to training the next day. No escort this time. She walked alone. Students stepped aside, not out of fear, out of respect. She entered the hall. The same hall. The walls looked different now. Not safer, but honest. A new instructor stood at the center. Calm, alert. "Training begins," he said. "Safety first." The words mattered now. The human observers prepared to leave. Their work was nearly done. But before they did, one message was sent. To the Academy Council, to the instructors, to the students. This outcome was not punishment. It was correction. The council read it carefully. They finally understood. Humans were not seeking dominance. They were seeking fairness. And fairness had consequences. Elena paused outside the training hall. She looked up at the academy towers. She had been attacked here, ignored here, but also defended. Eventually, the truth had taken time, but it had arrived. And now, the academy would never be the same, because once truth is exposed, it cannot be hidden again. The academy believed the matter was over. The instructor was removed. The attacker was expelled. The truth was exposed. By galactic standards, Justice was done. But humans did not see it that way. On Earth, the Human Council reviewed the final report. They read every line. They watched every moment again. The room was silent. One official finally spoke. "They corrected the mistake," she said. Another nodded, but only after the damage. A third leaned forward. "That is the lesson they still do not understand." Humans did not react fast, but when they did react, they reacted completely. A final message was prepared. Not angry, not threatening. Clear, measured, unavoidable. At the Galactic Academy, the Council received a message. It was marked human diplomatic notice. The room felt colder. The message began calmly. "We acknowledge the Academy's actions. We recognize the correction." Several council members relaxed. Then the tone shifted. However, this incident revealed a deeper failure. Human students were not protected equally. Delay nearly cost a life. The room went silent again. Humans do not seek conflict, but we do not tolerate negligence. One council member frowned. "This sounds like a warning," he said. Another answered quietly. "It is." The message continued. "From this moment forward, any harm caused to a human student through neglect will be treated as intentional." The council stiffened. That single line carried weight. Heavy weight. This is not a threat. This is clarity. The message ended. No demands. No force. Just boundaries. The Academy had never received such a message before. Not from a new species. Not from one considered weak. The council called an emergency session. "This changes everything," one member said. "They are setting rules," another replied. "And rules backed by consequences," a third added. The Academy realized something important. Humans were not asking permission. They were declaring expectations. Elena felt the change the next morning. Security was doubled. Training rules were stricter. Instructors watched more closely. Not just around her, around all humans. Other species noticed too. Whispers returned. But different ones. Humans draw lines. They stay calm. They do not bluff. Kraxel heard the message from outside the Academy. His expulsion became permanent. No appeals. No transfers. Other academies refused him. The reason was simple. He had harmed a human. And humans remembered. The former instructor watched the announcement alone. His career was over. But worse, his name was now tied to failure. Across the galaxy. He understood now. Hesitation had cost him everything. The Academy issued new policies. Immediate intervention rules. Zero tolerance for targeted abuse. Shared authority with human observers. Some instructors resisted. Most complied. Because they felt it. Humans were not loud, but their presence carried weight. Elena continued her training. She was no longer invisible, but she was not favored either. She was treated equally. That was enough. One day, a younger alien student approached her. "I am sorry," the student said quietly. Elena nodded. That was enough too. The human observers prepared to leave. Before departing, one of them spoke to council. "You handled this late," he said calmly. "But you handled it." The council waited. "We do not seek control," he continued. "We seek safety." He paused. "And once we define a boundary, we expect it respected." The council understood. This was not arrogance. It was discipline. As the human ship departed, the Academy stood changed. Not conquered. Corrected. Students trained harder. Instructors acted faster. Everyone remembered the delay. And the cost. Elena stood on a balcony that night. Stars stretched across the sky. She thought about the fight. About the pause. About the response. Humans were not the strongest species. Not the fastest. Not the largest. But they were something else. They observed. They endured. They responded with purpose. And when they finally spoke, the galaxy listened.